Prosecutors, on the other hand, said Diddy was not sorry and that his apology was phony and that there was some serious harm done to the victims of this case. Like you said, they wanted a sentence of at least 11 years. Ultimately, we know a sentence has now been shared with the court of 4 years behind bars.
What if the biggest betrayal in Hollywood wasn't between lovers, but between a father and his own daughter? While fans focused on red carpets and luxury vacations, insiders say something way darker was happening behind closed doors, turning the Lori Harvey story into more than just a 2019 breakup with Sean "Diddy" Combs. Sources connected to Diddy's 2024 conviction claim Lori has been quietly meeting with investigators, sharing details not only about the mogul, but about how her own family might have profited from that relationship. And now, whispers say her stepfather, Steve Harvey, the man who built his empire preaching family values, may have played a part that left Lori exposed and vulnerable. That's the rumor shaking Hollywood to its core. He thought that a man who preached loyalty and family values might have exposed his own stepdaughter for business gain, has people completely shocked, making this one of Hollywood's most explosive scandals right now. To understand how deep this alleged betrayal cuts,
what I don't think realized was he had cameras all over the place, unbeknownst to them. And now he has all that footage, supposedly. This is what I'm told. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens if, you're a huge iconic, TV star or movie star, and you're in.
You have to look at the players. Lori Harvey, the glamorous, fashion-forward model, was already a Met Gala regular by 2019, the polished face of Steve and Marjorie Harvey's perfect blended family. Then there's Sean "Diddy" Combs, no ordinary ex. In 2024, he was convicted on federal charges tied to transporting women for exploitation.
She used to hate, see, that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna tell it all. I'm telling all y'all. She said, and it was like, she used to check dudes with big lips.
Linked to disturbing freak-off sessions that witnesses said spanned over a decade. That verdict didn't just appear overnight. It followed years of rumors, lawsuits, and leaks about control, secret recordings, substance use, and a staff system prosecutors claim was built to protect his darkest habits. Now that insiders claim Lori's been secretly talking to federal agents about how she was pushed into Diddy's world, the real question isn't if he was dangerous. It's who opened that door for her in the first place. From the outside, it looked like a glamorous summer fling back in 2019. Lori in her early 20s, Diddy pushing 50, photographed everywhere from Cabo to Italy to New York. Paparazzi caught their matching outfits, yacht lunches, and that unforgettable dinner in Italy, with Lori, Diddy, her mom Marjorie, and stepdad Steve all at the same table. Blogs called it a casual rebound, saying Diddy was still grieving Kim Porter, but fans weren't buying it. They flooded Steve's comments, asking why a man who preached family values was fine with his 22-year-old stepdaughter hanging with someone nearly 30 years older.
Same kind of extortion that we heard when Cassie took the stand and testified on that airplane ride back from France. Diddy said, "You don't do a freak-off, I'm going to release one of the freak-off videos that you are profiled in and humiliate."
Especially one surrounded by long-standing rumors. Lori and Diddy never confirmed they were together, and that silence only made people more suspicious about what was really going on. By mid-2019, gossip sites spotted a ring on her finger at a C-Rock event, sparking wild engagement rumors, but Lori shut it down fast, saying, "I'm not engaged," and told fans to stop believing every blog post.
Not be involved with a famous singer to not come out, here's the price. And that they're just selling to the individuals that are in those, this is what I heard, they're selling those videos. So if you're Tommy X, and Tommy X is a big movie star, and he was at some of the Diddy parties, he was in one of those bedrooms with 3 other men, and he's happily married to a woman, and blah. Tommy doesn't want that video to come. Different people that can make you go away if listen, I've worried about some of the things that I talk about.
People had already tried linking her to Diddy's son, Justin Combs, which she also denied, calling it pure speculation. That back and forth showed how their situation existed in a strange gray zone. Nothing confirmed, nothing denied, just perfectly staged. Even then, Lori was still being flown to events, styled in matching looks, and photographed next to a man who, insiders say, relied on her presence while grieving Kim Porter's death.
He took my Winton from me. He turned my son against me.
And as fans debated the age gap online, something way more unsettling was happening behind the scenes. Steve Harvey stayed completely silent while his name kept getting dragged into the mess. By late 2019, even outlets like Good Housekeeping called out Steve Harvey for staying silent.
Moment, it just felt like, what? Like, is this fun for him? Is this like a test?
While new photos of Lori and Diddy kept surfacing, including that viral Italian dinner shot where Lori had her arm around Diddy.
I would feel like I failed as a father.
I think
if I'm sitting across from the table with a dude the same age as me that's dating my daughter.
My mother is 54 years old. Her mother is 5 years older.
Right in front of her mom and stepdad. Fans said it was sad that the same man who preached family values seemed unbothered sitting beside a rumored partner nearly his own age. Meanwhile, Steve stayed focused on promoting his Sand and Soul Festival and flaunting his luxury Europe trip, clearly avoiding the Lori and Diddy talk. But insiders claimed that behind that polished image was a more calculated reason. Those family vacations might have been tied to financial pressure building for years. Back in 2017, his ex-wife, Mary Shackelford, hit him with a $60 million lawsuit accusing him of conspiracy and soul destruction. The case got tossed, but her claims and public videos accusing Steve of falsifying documents and embezzlement painted a much different picture than the wholesome mentor he sold on TV. Even though the court tossed his ex-wife's lawsuit, her public claims that Steve should be jailed for ruining her life hinted at serious tension and financial strain. And that kind of pressure could have made him vulnerable when someone like Diddy came offering access, power, and visibility. A setup insiders say might explain how Lori got pulled into that circle. People familiar with Steve's finances say the timing looked suspicious. By the mid-2000s, he was juggling talk shows, endorsements, and network shakeups while quietly battling legal and personal issues. Now, some in the industry are asking if a man trying to rebuild his brand might have seen real value in cozying up to a music mogul like Diddy, who could boost his reach and open new doors. Insiders claim the 2019 closeness between the Harvey and Combs families wasn't just about comfort or grief, it was business. Lori's presence beside Diddy boosted Steve's visibility, and his silence while fans tagged him under photos from Malibu dinners and NYC outings now looks less like ignorance and more like a calculated move to keep things quiet. By 2023, though, the script flipped. Lori was making headlines on her own terms, rolling her eyes at rumors she dated both Diddy and his son, calling it pure gossip. Viewers remember that smirk, like she knew way more than she let on, reclaiming her story after years of online speculation. But insiders say that same year, Lori allegedly began cooperating with the FBI, giving investigators details on how her connection with Diddy really worked, and what role, if any, her stepfather played in setting up those 2019 trips and appearances. The most shocking claim floating around legal circles is that by 2023, Lori wasn't just cutting ties with Diddy. She was allegedly giving investigators details linking Steve Harvey to the same pattern of control and transactions prosecutors exposed in Diddy's 2024 trial. That case revealed a disturbing setup. Women drawn in through business or romance, flown across states, pressured into long private encounters, and secretly filmed for leverage. Lori's name never appeared in court, but her 2019 timeline fits perfectly with Diddy's long history of blurring care and control. And if her stepfather really allowed her into that environment while benefiting from the connection, it raises the question, how real was his family man image? What makes it darker is how this overlaps with the Jeffrey Epstein network, the same one exposed in 2025's massive email release that pulled more powerful names into the spotlight. Those 2025 Epstein emails, released by the House Oversight Committee, showed him casually name-dropping powerful men like Donald Trump, bragging about secrets he claimed could bring the former president down. His sloppy, arrogant tone revealed how untouchable he believed he was between 2008 and 2019. Reading through the messages, one pattern stands out. Older, elite men treating young women like disposable pawns, convinced money, status, and NDAs would keep their secrets buried forever. Now whispers say Steve Harvey's name has surfaced in quiet talks about who in entertainment may have crossed paths with Epstein's world, even socially. sparking fears that the line between a wholesome TV mentor and a behind-the-scenes operator might be thinner than anyone thought. No filings name him directly, but insiders note his ties to elite circles, luxury travel, and powerful friendships, all of which are raising eyebrows as more names keep leaking from those archives. And if Lori's alleged cooperation with investigators really included hints that her stepfather wasn't just watching from the sidelines, but possibly gaining from aligning their family with men later exposed for predatory behavior, then the question becomes unavoidable. Was the smiling host millions grew up watching truly an innocent bystander in other people's messes? Or has he been standing way closer to the center of something calculated and messy all along? Because if Lori Harvey was really working with the FBI by 2023, she wasn't just talking about Diddy, she was talking about the men who made his access possible. And that list, according to people whispering behind the scenes, might even include her own stepfather. In court, Diddy's world finally got dragged into the light. Prosecutors described years of his so-called freak-off setups. Women flown into fancy hotels supplied with substances and pushed into long private sessions he sometimes recorded and later used as leverage when anyone tried to step away. Witnesses talked about inner circle staff arranging flights, keeping schedules tight, bringing in companions, and even helping hide digital evidence when stories started leaking. So if Lori was really moving through that same orbit in 2019, walking through the same suites, stepping onto the same private jets, the real question is, what did she witness? And what, if anything, did she quietly save to protect herself? Those court filings laid out a chilling pattern. Cameras tucked into corners, explicit recordings stacked on hard drives, and a powerful entertainer allegedly using those files as insurance against lawsuits or anyone planning to speak out. Jurors heard about the private vocabulary used for these events, about instructions passed through assistants, and about women who later said they felt less like invited guests and more like pieces on a board somebody else was controlling. In opening statements, federal lawyers even warned the courtroom that some footage would be tough to watch because it didn't show glamour. It showed exhaustion, fear, and people pushed past their limits. So when you slide Lori's timeline into this picture, it's impossible not to question whether she was just another face in the room, or if, like some insiders claim, her visibility actually gave her more leverage than most. Several music industry veterans now say that by the time federal agents closed in, investigators weren't just grabbing tapes, texts, and devices from Diddy's circle, they were also quietly listening to the women who had once been presented as the it girls on his arm, women who finally felt safe enough to talk. Some insiders say several of those women didn't show up empty-handed. They pulled out screenshots, flight receipts, and even voice note reminders of what went down behind those blackout curtains. And if Lori was one of them, that means she didn't just walk away from that chapter. She walked into meeting rooms holding dates, locations, and names that could connect multiple high-profile men in ways nobody expected. Suddenly, her smooth, almost dismissive, 2023 comments about rumors and misconceptions start to feel less like basic PR and more like the outer layer of a way bigger strategy. Because at this point, the story stopped being about one producer's behavior. It turned into a whole system. When those newly released 20,000 Epstein emails hit Washington in late 2025, the tone felt disturbingly familiar. In a 2011 message, Epstein wrote that Donald Trump knew about the girls, referring to the young women spending long hours at his properties, and he bragged about knowing things that could bring the future president down if he ever decided to talk. The committee staff redacted names and details, but the tone wasn't subtle at all. It was a man who believed his connections, his past deals, and his secrets made him untouchable forever. That arrogance splashed across those emails is the same energy people saw around Diddy's world before the raids. The same belief that money, access, and the right circle of powerful friends would keep every wild night hidden for good. And this is the point where Steve Harvey's name stops being just a side detail in Lori's story and starts looking like a piece of a way bigger, way more uncomfortable puzzle. For years, he moved through the same elite social circles that overlapped with both Diddy's world and Epstein's network. High-end festivals, charity galas, private summer trips on yachts where cameras were nowhere in sight. He wasn't just a comedian. He was a businessman with reach, a host who got invited into rooms where tech giants, political players, and entertainment bosses traded favors and quiet introductions. So if Lori's alleged statements to investigators really include claims that he knew exactly what kind of world he was guiding her into back in 2019, then the question isn't, did he know? It becomes, how much did he gain by keeping quiet while she played her part? Some former staffers from major entertainment events have already spoken publicly, saying Steve was often treated like a bridge, a trusted fatherly figure who could make younger celebrities feel relaxed while older executives observe from a distance. Others, speaking privately, claim certain invites only started landing in Steve's lap after Lori's profile skyrocketed, almost like her image opened doors for his new deals, partnerships, and opportunities. So now the question hangs in the air. Was Lori's modeling rise and brand growth purely the result of her own beauty and grind? Or did her presence become a kind of unspoken currency in circles where access meant everything? Or was Lori's success also part of an unspoken payoff, a quiet exchange that worked until she decided to pull away? And when she did those same doors suddenly close, leaving Steve with fewer lifelines just as the legal heat started rising around the very men he once smiled beside? Then there's the quiet psychological chess game between Lori and Steve, a tense battle not played through shouting or drama, but through interviews, body language, and what's left unsaid. Back in early 2023, when Lori sat down with E! News, she coolly brushed off all those rumors about dating both a father and a son. She gave that little half smile and said people were running wild with misconceptions, even claiming she'd seen stories linking her to men she had never met. In that same interview, she dropped a piece of advice she said came straight from Steve himself. Just remember that you are the prize, always. On the surface, it sounded like sweet fatherly advice, a simple reminder of self-worth. But when you look at it through a darker lens, that line hits different. It sounds like something you tell yourself when you're walking into risky spaces, when you know your value but also know the cost of being in the wrong room, and when you're preparing to stop playing along. Meanwhile, Steve stayed laser-focused on his image, promoting festivals, comedy specials, and morning show segments where he praised Lori's grace without ever mentioning the Diddy mess. Behind the scenes, if insiders are telling the truth, Steve was quietly keeping tabs on every federal move tied to Diddy, watching closely for any hint that Lori's cooperation might drag his name into the blast zone. Was that public tenderness just a way to buy time, hoping to ride out the chaos? Or was he genuinely shocked, realizing that the same stepdaughter he once coached through media training might now be sitting across from investigators, with his choices suddenly under review? Legal watchers are whispering that Lori's alleged collaboration with federal agents might have already shaken the balance inside the Harvey family, because if she really handed over digital proof, linking certain trips, dinners, and luxury stays to a broader pattern of exploitation, then for the first time ever, Steve might not be the one holding the narrative anymore. The man who built an empire telling women how to demand better from men could now be facing the same standards, measured by a daughter who finally decided that loyalty doesn't mean silence. And even though no official filing has connected his name to Diddy's case or the newly surfaced Epstein records, the fact that his name is even floating through these quiet conversations shows how fragile that once untouchable image has become. In the end, it all comes back to one chilling thought. If Lori really did turn to federal agents in 2023, maybe it wasn't out of revenge or fame, but because she finally realized the truth. No one in those powerful circles was ever coming to save her. Maybe those modeling deals, front row invites, and luxury brand partnerships were never the reward. Maybe they were the price Lori paid for keeping quiet just long enough for the right people to cash out. What's left now isn't a simple family scandal. It's a quiet civil war inside a dynasty built on advice, image, and illusion. Lori Harvey might have turned on Steve. But the real question is, who betrayed her first? And when the FBI finally reveals what she handed over, what happens when we see the full picture too? Were we watching a love story unfold online? Or witnessing the slow unraveling of a deal that was never meant to see daylight? Are we even ready for what comes next? Because if this is just the beginning, things are about to get real. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss what drops next. See you on the next one.